In this video, we're going to unpack how I plan to turn one property into two properties in Southeast Queensland. I'm going to be unpacking the numbers for you today, the strategy behind this approach of going from one into two, and sharing with you the real address and the floor plans of the specific build I'm doing at the rear of this development site. Now on screen here, you can see the deal. It's number 18, Harold Street in Bundamba. I was able to pick this property up in March 2025 for a purchase price of $625,000. And the property was rented for around that $450 to $500 per week on a periodic lease when I picked up the deal. As you can see by the photos here, the house is a little bit worse for wear. It's got paint that's flaking on the exterior. The gutters have rusted through. The roof actually has a few rust spots. It's an asbestos home internally. And you might be thinking, oh, an ugly duckling. But what I saw on this deal was value. I didn't mind that it had flaky paint, rusted gutters, asbestos internally. It had good bones and it was in a reasonable condition and already rented out. The real value for me on this site was the block itself and the upside potential to add a secondary dwelling or ideally do a dual occupancy which strata titles a front and rear house. And this is the aerial shot, as you can see on screen here. This is the reason. Now, what caught my attention with this deal was the block size. It's over 1,000 square meters. And when you get land like that, especially with good access, as you can see down the left-hand side here, really wide side access, you've got options or levers that you can pull to add value and create equity by doing these types of projects. Now, let's take a look at the numbers on this deal at 18 Harold Street in Bundamba. The numbers show us that it was renting for around $480 per week, around a 4% gross yield. Now, that's a pretty good yield when you're looking at the size of block that this site has, and it allows me to hold this property to move into phase two. Now let's take a look at the growth story since I purchased this deal in March 2025. The reality is the Southeast Queensland market, in particular, the lowest percentage quartile of properties, so that's the last 25% of houses, has had the strongest rate of growth over the last 6 months. And the key reason for that being is the release of the 5% deposit scheme for first home buyers, plus a drive for affordability. So this deal's probably worth about $750,000 to $800,000, which as you can see is about $100,000 to $120,000, $150,000 gain on the original purchase price. But let's say I'm into the property for more like $650,000 to $675,000. It's still a $100,000 gain in 6 months, which is crazy growth. Now, I didn't think I would get that kind of growth in the 6-month window, to be perfectly honest with you. It's very unsustainable growth over the last 6 months, but it's still real growth and properties are selling on this street for around that $800K price point because of the value of the land and that these homes have inherent rebuild value too. When I purchased this deal for $625,000, I actually thought the deal was probably worth about high 600s to around the 700 mark at that point in time when I purchased. But because I bought the deal during the week of Cyclone Alfred, demand significantly dropped after those storms, and I bought it the weekend after the storms had happened in March or April this year. And so I probably would have said that the inherent value when I purchased the properties was around the 700K mark, which means they've still gone up around 50 to 100K over the last 6 months, which is crazy, astronomical growth in terms of the market. Now, what on earth is the plan with this deal? It's really about building a potential secondary dwelling out the rear of the block. And this is where I'm going to be able to force some value, create some equity, whether I can do it as a granny flat or a secondary dwelling. And then it's also improving the cash flows on that deal. As you can see here, there's a really big space out the back where I can clear some trees, do a little bit of retaining along the side, and create a 4-bed, 2-bath dwelling out the back. Now, this is not the actual floor plan. It's just an example of the size of home that you can fit out the back there. And you can see there's an example front space here with a clear driveway down the left-hand side. What this means is double the rental income on a single title or potentially splitting the titles using a strata title subdivision. And that means more cash flow, easier holding costs, and a deal like this is going to generate significant income year on year and grow with the market. So you probably want to know, how much does this all cost? Let's say I go out there and pay the market price for a deal like this. I'm buying the house for about, say, $750 to $800K in this example. Now, how much does it cost to build the dwelling out the back? Well, the contract price for a 4-bed, 2-bath home with no extras is about $272,000. With all the extras, including retaining, driveways, council applications, and all the other costs associated with doing a minor development, I'm looking at around $350,000 in total in terms of this project. That's not bad for a 4-bed, 2-bath secondary house built out on the back of the block. In my opinion, I think that's good value. Now we understand this deal, let's look at the result of the before and after when doing this type of deal. And we're going to cover off some key metrics. So what is the cost base in terms of this project? Well, I purchased for $625,000 initially, and I'm probably going to be in around that $975,000 to $1 million for this entire project. The rent per week initially was $480 per week, sitting around that high threes, around that 4% gross yield. Now, the rent afterwards, because I'm going to have a new 4-bed, 2-bath home out the back, is expected to be close to $1,200 per week. From there, we're looking at the yields. So a 4% gross yield as an estimate, leading to a 6% gross yield once you've got the 2 dwellings. And that's really because I was able to get the land for free in this example. Then we've got the dwellings. So I've gone from 1 dwelling into 2 dwellings. Now this means I've got a dual income property with 2 separate assets, generating strong cash flows and creating some equity upside as well. The reality is this is why buying the right property matters if you're looking to do a granny flat or dual occupancy style project. If you can buy the right site, look at the numbers and get the right outcome, you can create not only cash flow, but some potential equity uplift as well. And myself and the team at Purpose Property help clients source these exact type of deals in Southeast Queensland. Whether you're looking to do just a granny flat project or even a subdivision or strata title, we can work with the town planner to find the right sites and access these types of options where you can create cash flow and equity at the same time. I'm really excited about these types of projects where you're getting the bigger blocks and you can build the bigger secondary style of dwellings. Being able to build a much larger home on the rear means essentially 2 properties on 1 title if it's going through as a secondary dwelling, otherwise known as a granny flat, or if I can get the dual occupancy or subdivision style deal, then I've got 2 separate sellable assets. Now I am going to attempt to do the full dual occupancy, but that does mean more time going through the application process, doing a full development application with council and getting all those things approved if I can push it through council to get the separation of the assets. The big reason I'm pushing for that on this deal, specifically at 18 Harold Street in Bundamba, is that the end product would be worth at least $700,000 for each house, which means, as you can see from the earlier numbers, the end value of this type of deal, even though I'm in for around $1 million, would be closer to $1.4 million if each property is worth about $700K once you complete and separate the assets. So I am going to be pushing to do this as a development application and a dual occupancy certificate. But in a worst case scenario, I only get 1 title and have to do the rear dwelling as just a secondary dwelling, which will still give me some equity uplift, maybe an end value of 1.2 million. But I'm also going to be getting that cash flow. And as you can see, the property is going to generate over $50,000 a year in terms of gross rental income. And so it makes it very easy to scale and hold these types of deals if you can do multiple projects. And I'm planning on doing 3 to 4 of these projects over the next 6 months. So I'll definitely keep you guys posted. If you want to see more of these specific deals where I share the addresses, where I share the information and the real numbers of exactly what I'm doing in my personal property portfolio, if you could do me a huge favor and subscribe to the channel and like this video, it means the world to me because it means other people can see these types of deals and that it is achievable for Australians to buy the right types of projects to set yourself up for success and give yourself and your family more choices. That's really what this hard work is all about. It's not about being ultra rich and ultra wealthy. It's about being able to spend more time with your family and your kids by taking on a bit more work, but getting a better outcome in terms of the financial result. So if you want to see more videos on real estate renovating and financial freedom, give this video a click over here. YouTube reckons you need to give this one a watch, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.